First contact in the void. Captain Marcus Kane had seen many things during his 15 years, commanding the exploration vessel Defiant Dawn, alien ruins, cosmic storms that could tear apart space itself, and creatures that existed in dimensions humans couldn't properly comprehend. But nothing had prepared him for her. The distress signal came from the edge of the Crimson Nebula, where ships went to disappear and legends were born. His crew of 12 seasoned explorers had voted unanimously to investigate. They were humanity's finest, volunteers who had left Earth's safety to push the boundaries of known space. "Captain, we're picking up a single life sign aboard the derelict vessel," reported Lieutenant James Voss, his tactical officer. The man's usually steady voice carried a note of confusion, but the readings are unusual. Through the main view screen, the alien ship looked like a work of art carved from obsidian and starlight. Its hull curved in impossible ways that seemed to bend light around it. No human ship had ever been built with such elegant malevolence. "Unusual how?" Kane asked, studying the readings on his command console. "The life sign appears to be in some kind of suspended state. Hibernation maybe, but the energy patterns are unlike anything in our databases." Engineer Patricia Webb looked up from her station, her weathered face creased with concern. "Captain, that ship's been drifting here for at least 3 centuries, but its power core is still active. Whatever technology they're using, it's far beyond ours." Kane made his decision with the quick certainty that had kept him alive in hostile space. "Prep the shuttle. Webb, Voss, you're with me. The rest of you maintain position and keep the engines warm." The docking procedure took 40 minutes of careful maneuvering. The alien ship's airlocks were compatible with human systems, which should have been impossible. As they entered the vessel, emergency lighting flickered to life automatically, casting everything in deep crimson shadows. The interior was a maze of corridors that seemed designed for beings taller and more graceful than humans, symbols covered, the walls pulsing with soft bioluminescent light that responded to their presence. "She's beautiful," Webb whispered, running her scanner over the alien script. Kane was about to ask what she meant when they entered the central chamber. There, suspended in a column of translucent energy, was the most stunning and terrifying being he had ever encountered. She appeared humanoid but otherworldly, with pale blue skin that seemed to glow from within. Her features were sharp and elegant, like a sculpture crafted by angels with a taste for danger. Long silver hair floated around her as if she were underwater, but it was her eyes that held Kane transfixed even though they were closed. He somehow knew that when they opened, they would be the color of liquid mercury. The energy field flickered, her eyes opened. The Ancient Awakens. Those mercury eyes found Kane's immediately, as if she had been expecting him for centuries. The energy field surrounding her dissipated like morning mist, and she stepped down from the suspension platform with fluid grace that made human movement seem clumsy by comparison. "Captain Marcus Kane of the vessel Defiant Dawn," she said, her voice like velvet wrapped around steel. "You are precisely on schedule." Kane's hand moved instinctively toward his sidearm, but something in her posture made him pause. She stood, completely still, arms at her sides, showing no aggression despite the sharp canines visible when she spoke. "You know my name," he said carefully. "I'm at a disadvantage. I am Zephyra of the Nocturne Collective." She tilted her head, studying him with ancient patience. "I have been waiting for your species to develop interstellar travel. Your arrival was predicted long before your sun began to burn." Lieutenant Voss raised his weapon, but Kane held up a restraining hand. Something about this situation felt orchestrated, and his instincts told him that hostility would be a fatal mistake. "Predicted by whom?" Kane asked. "By the architects of the Great Design." Zephyra moved closer, her footsteps completely silent on the metal decking. "They seeded this galaxy with various species, each designed to fulfill a specific purpose. When the time of convergence arrived, Engineer Webb's scanner was beeping frantically. "Captain, her cellular structure is unlike anything we've ever seen. She appears to be some kind of energy-based life form inhabiting a physical shell." Zephyr smiled, revealing those predatory canines. "Your Engineer Webb is partially correct. My people evolved beyond the limitations of purely biological existence. Millennia ago, we became something more. something that your species would classify as vampiric in nature. Vampiric? Voss kept his weapon trained on her, though Kane noticed his hands were trembling slightly. We sustain ourselves on life energy rather than physical matter. But unlike the creatures of your mythology, we do not kill to feed. We have learned to draw sustenance from willing participants, creating a symbiotic relationship rather than a parasitic one. Kane felt a chill run down his spine. And what does that have to do with humanity? Everything. Zephyr's mercury eyes seemed to glow brighter. Your species possesses something unique among all the races we have encountered. You have the ability to generate life energy at an exponential rate. When faced with adversity, the more impossible the odds, the stronger your vital force becomes. She gestured to the walls around them, and the bioluminescent symbols began to pulse in complex patterns. The galaxy faces a threat that will arrive within your next solar year. The Devourers, beings of pure entropy that consume entire star systems, are approaching from the void between galaxies. Webb lowered her scanner, her face pale. How do you know all this? Because my people have been fighting them for 10,000 of your years. We have lost entire star systems, watched civilizations burn. Zephyr's expression became grave. But we have learned something important. The Devourers cannot consume that which burns too brightly with life force. They retreat from species that refuse to surrender. Kane began to understand. You need humanity to fight them. No, Captain Kane. Zephyr stepped close enough that he could see himself reflected in her metallic eyes. We need humanity to teach the galaxy how to fight them. Your species has something that ours lost long ago when we transcended physical existence. What's that? The beautiful, reckless determination to charge headfirst into impossible situations and somehow emerge victorious. The price of Alien Seth War Council convened aboard the Defiant Dawn 3 hours later. Kane had transported his entire senior staff to hear Zephyr's proposal, though he kept armed guards stationed throughout the ship as a precaution. Commander Lisa Torres, his first officer, studied the holographic display showing the approaching Devour fleet. 200 vessels, each the size of a small moon. They've already consumed 12 star systems in the Andromeda Galaxy. How long until they reach inhabited systems in our galaxy? Asked Chief Medical Officer Dr. Nathan Cross, his usually calm demeanor showing cracks of concern. 18 months at their current velocity, Zephyr replied. She had accepted their hospitality with grace, though Kane noticed she had touched neither food nor water. However, they will accelerate once they detect concentrations of life energy. Security. Chief Rachel Hunter leaned forward aggressively. Why should we trust anything you're telling us? You admit to being some kind of energy vampire, and now you want us to fight your battles. Zephyr's smile was sharp but not unkind. Because, Chief Hunter, you have already begun fighting them without knowing it. The hologram shifted, showing a region of space Kane recognized with growing horror. The Kepler colony massacre 6 months ago. We thought it was a pirate raid. The first scouts arrived ahead of the main fleet. Zephyr explained. They consumed the life energy of 30,000 colonists in minutes. Your military blamed it on raiders because the alternative was unthinkable. Dr. Cross paled. The bodies we recovered were completely drained of everything. We couldn't even determine cause of death. Now you understand the nature of what approaches. Zephyr waved her hand, and the display showed dozens of similar incidents across human space. They have been testing your defenses, measuring your response times, cataloging your weapons technology. Kane felt anger building in his chest, a familiar heat that had driven him through countless dangerous missions. They've been using us as lab rats. Yes, and that anger you feel, Captain, that righteous fury at being manipulated and attacked. Zephyr's mercury eyes seemed to brighten. That is exactly what we need to weaponize. Engineer Webb spoke up from her position at the technical console. Weaponize emotions? That's impossible. Not impossible. Unprecedented. Zephyr moved to stand beside the hologram, her pale blue skin taking on an ethereal glow in the projected light. My people possess technology that can harness and amplify emotional energy. When combined with human determination, it becomes a force that can literally tear holes in reality. Commander Torres crossed her arms skeptically. What's the Catch: there's always a catch with deals like this. The process requires a permanent psychic link between a human and one of my kind. The human provides the raw emotional energy, while we provide the control and focus necessary to direct it. It is intimate. Kane understood immediately. You're talking about a symbiotic relationship. That's why you said you'd been waiting for me specifically. The psychic compatibility must be perfect, or the process will destroy both participants' minds. Zephyra turned those ancient eyes on him. You, Captain Kane, possess the ideal psychological profile. Your capacity for protective anger, combined with your ability to remain rational under pressure, creates the perfect resonance frequency. Security. Chief Hunter stood up abruptly. Absolutely not, Captain. You can't seriously be considering allowing this thing to form some kind of mental bond with you. This thing, Zephyra said softly, has spent 3 centuries in suspended animation waiting for the precise moment when Captain Kane would find my ship. I have sacrificed everything I was to give your species a chance at survival. Kane studied her face, looking for any sign of deception. All he saw was ancient weariness and desperate hope. The bond of warrior's psychic linking chamber aboard Zephyra's ship resembled a cross between a medical facility and an ancient temple. Crystalline formations covered the walls, pulsing with the same bioluminescent patterns Kane had noticed throughout the vessel. The process is irreversible, Zephyra warned as she made final adjustments to the alien technology. Once our minds are joined, we will share thoughts, emotions, even dreams for the remainder of our lives. Kane lay on the linking platform, trying to ignore the protests of his crew echoing from the comm system. Dr. Cross had spent 2 hours running every medical scan imaginable, finding nothing that would indicate the procedure was dangerous. But the unknown always carried risk. Why me? Kane asked as Zephyra activated systems that hummed with power beyond human understanding. There must be other humans with the right psychological profile. There are 17 others who might be compatible, she replied, moving to her own platform adjacent to his. But you are the only one who has already proven capable of making impossible decisions under pressure. The linking process will test every aspect of your mental fortitude. The crystals began to glow brighter, and Kane felt a strange tingling sensation spreading through his body. What happens if it doesn't work? Zephyra settled onto her platform, closing those mercury eyes. Then we both die, and your species faces extinction alone. The linking began as a whisper in the back of Kane's mind, so faint he almost missed it. Then it grew stronger, becoming a presence that felt distinctly feminine and utterly alien. Memories that weren't his own began to flow through his consciousness. He saw star systems being consumed by creatures of living shadow, their planets stripped of all life in minutes. He felt the desperation of entire civilizations as they realized their technology was useless against an enemy that existed partially outside normal spacetime. But he also felt something else, the fierce protective instinct that had driven Zephyra to sacrifice her own existence for the sake of species she had never met. The same instinct that had driven Kane to explore unknown space, seeking threats before they could reach Earth. We are alike, you and I. Her voice echoed inside his mind. Warriors who sacrifice ourselves for others. The flow of shared consciousness intensified, and Kane experienced Zephyra's memories of her people's golden age, a civilization that had transcended physical limitations, exploring the universe through pure thought and energy. They had been artists, philosophers, and scientists who had unlocked the secrets of existence itself. Then came the first Devourer attack. The memory hit Kane like a physical blow. Entire worlds going dark as the shadow creatures consumed every trace of life energy. Zephyra's people had tried to fight, but their transcended existence made them vulnerable to entities that fed on pure energy. We became too refined. Zephyra's mental voice carried infinite sadness. We lost the raw, chaotic force that allows life to resist entropy. That is what your species possesses in abundance. Kane felt his own memories being examined and cataloged. His childhood on the frontier colony of New Montana, where survival required constant adaptation. His years in the Space Navy, learning to make split-second decisions that meant the difference between life and death for his crew. But most importantly, He felt Zephyr experiencing his most defining moment, the Procyon Station incident, where he had risked his ship and crew to evacuate civilians from a failing orbital habitat. The moment when he had chosen to potentially sacrifice everything to save people he had never met. Yes, Zephyr's presence grew stronger in his mind. This is what we need. This is what will make the difference. The linking reached its climax, and Kane felt their consciousness merge completely. For a terrifying moment, he couldn't tell where his thoughts ended and hers began. He was simultaneously human and something far more ancient, mortal and eternal. Individual and collective. Then the sensation stabilized, and he opened eyes that now held flecks of silver among their original brown. Across from him, Zephyr's mercury eyes showed traces of warm humanity that had never been there before. The bond is complete, she said aloud, though Kane heard her words both with his ears and directly in his mind. How do you feel? Kane sat up slowly, testing his body's responses. Everything felt the same yet completely different. He could sense Zephyr's presence like a warm flame in the back of his consciousness, offering strength and knowledge when needed. Like I'm not alone anymore, he admitted. Humanity's fire unleashed first test of their bonded abilities came sooner than expected. The Defiant Dawn had barely cleared Zephyr's ship when long-range sensors detected 3 Devourer scouts approaching the system at impossible speeds. Captain, they're moving faster than our fastest interceptors, reported Lieutenant Voss from the tactical station. His voice carried the tension of a man who had never faced an enemy like this. Kane stood at the center of his bridge, feeling Zephyr's presence merge more fully with his consciousness. Through their bond, he could perceive the approaching enemies as they truly were, holes in reality shaped vaguely like ships, consuming spacetime itself as they moved. All hands, battle stations. Kane commanded, this is not a drill, we're facing an enemy that has destroyed entire civilizations. Zephyr materialized beside him, her form shifting between physical substance and pure energy. The linking had given her the ability to manifest anywhere on the ship at will. They're scanning us, trying to determine our energy signature. They expect to find prey. They're about to find predators instead, Kane replied, feeling his protective anger beginning to build. Through their bond, he sensed Zephyr drawing on that emotion, refining it, focusing it into something far more powerful. The first Devourer scout entered weapons range, and Kane gave the order to fire. The Defiant Dawn's plasma cannon struck the shadow ship directly, but the energy beams passed harmlessly through its hull as if firing at empty space. Conventional weapons are useless, Engineer Webb reported from her station. They exist partially outside our dimensional framework. Kane felt Zephyr's ancient knowledge flowing through their mental link. Not useless, he said, with growing confidence, just insufficient. We need to hit them with something they can't phase through. He closed his eyes and reached deep into the wellspring of human determination that had carried his species from caves to stars. The anger at seeing his crew threatened, the fierce protectiveness he felt for all human life, the absolute refusal to surrender that defined humanity's greatest moments. Zephyr caught that raw emotional energy and began shaping it, using her people's mastery of dimensional manipulation to give it physical form. Through the bridge's view screen, Kane watched as the space around the Defiant Dawn began to shimmer with golden fire. Impossible, whispered Dr. Cross. Energy readings are off the scale. The bonded power of human determination and ancient alien knowledge reached critical mass. Kane felt himself becoming a conduit for something that existed beyond normal physics. The golden fire spread from his ship, racing across the void to engulf the first Devourer scout. For the first time in recorded history, one of the shadow creatures screamed. The sound echoed across multiple dimensions, a wail of surprise and pain from a being that had never encountered resistance. The scout's form began to solidify as the golden energy forced it fully into normal spacetime. Now, Kane shouted, all weapons, maximum power. The Defiant Dawn's plasma cannons found their mark this time, tearing through the Devourer's hull with devastating effect. The creature's death scream shattered equipment across 3 star systems. As it collapsed into a singularity and disappeared, the remaining 2 scouts immediately changed course. fleeing at maximum speed back toward the void between galaxies. "Commander." Torres stared at the tactical display in amazement. "They're running. Creatures that have consumed entire star systems are running from us." Kane felt Zephyr's satisfaction flowing through their bond, mixed with his own fierce pride. "Send a priority message to Earth Command," he ordered. "Tell them we've found a way to fight back." "What about the main fleet?" asked Security Chief Hunter. 200 ships the size of moons. Kane smiled, feeling the warmth of Zephyr's presence, strengthening his resolve. "We're going to teach every human in the galaxy how to burn as brightly as we just did. And when the Devourers arrive expecting to find prey, they're going to face something they've never encountered before." "Which is?" Webb asked. "Humanity united with purpose," Zephyr answered, her mercury eyes blazing with reflected human fire. "The one force in the universe that entropy cannot consume." Through their bond, Kane felt the future unfolding, humans learning to partner with other transcended species, sharing the raw vital force that made them unique. The galaxy would burn with the light of determination, courage, and the absolute refusal to surrender that defined humanity's greatest strength. The Devourers had awakened something they couldn't understand or consume. They had awakened humanity's fire, and that fire would spread until every star in the galaxy blazed with the indomitable spirit of those who refused to go quietly into the dark. The age of prey was ending. The age of human fire had begun.